Hi guys, today we're continuing working with materials. We're going to apply textures now. So currently I have this example texture from FXGL when I've been playing around with 3D. And what I'd like to do is just grab these two and drag them into the content browser of what we currently have. We're going to talk about normals later on in the lectures rather than in the videos. So for now, we're just focusing on the practical aspects of UE. And here's the texture, here's the normal. We're not going to touch the normal just yet. Let's go over here and look at this. Yeah, let's go with this one. And what we're going to do is right-click on this thing, create material first. We're going to call it wall matte. Yeah, let's just call it that. Wall material. And then this is the easiest thing to do. Just drag it over to this cube. And what you have is a static mesh actor with this material that we just created from the texture. Now let's just play around with the dimensions of this thing. I'm going to scale this up. So it looks like a wall basically. Currently not too worried about how the texture looks, just want to get the dimensions right. And then maybe placed over here somewhere. Yeah, something like that. That looks like a wall, almost. If you double click wall material, you will find this texture sample stuff that you can play around with. Now what we want is to change how it wraps the texture with respect to UV coordinates, so basically tiling. To do that, we will need texture coordinates, which is called texture coordinate. And again, you can just right click and create a new instance of that. The result of that should go to UVs. And here you can play with U tiling and V tiling. So how about we change this to 15 and this thing to 15. Click apply, and then we should see a wall. That looks better. Now it looks kind of flat, and this is where we're going to bring in our normals. So in fact, I'm going to copy this, paste it, so that we can see the difference. I don't know if we're actually going to see the difference, but we'll go with that. So this thing is a wall material. How about we Control-C, Control-V this into wall material. Well, I'm going to rename this. Let's call it wall normal material. So by default, it's going to have all the stuff. I'm just going to drag this over to here. So on the left, we have our previous wall material. On the right, we have the normal material, which we're going to change. Double click that. Let's just save this old one. So in the normal material, we have this texture sample, which we can just Control-C, Control-V, or right click and then type texture sample. In that texture sample, we can select the texture. So if you click on the texture, which has currently none, select wall norm. These are going to be the normals. And just drag RGB into normal of the material. And then you probably want to apply the same texture coordinates, so that normal matches the actual texture. Apply, and let's see what this has done. Don't know if you can see it, but it looks different for starters. And it should look not as flat because of the normals. And we're going to talk about what these normals are in the lecture. Or chances are we've already talked about them, since this video is supposed to go after the lecture. Anyway, so now that we've done the basics, you can just start playing around with a lot of things. there are some really high quality free assets available under very permissive licenses. So find them, use them, and populate all these things as well. Things like metallic, specular colors, it's going to look incredibly realistic. For us though, let's just change one thing. How about that? And how about we go back to, because I don't want to change this. This kind of looks better. So let's change something in the original material. Something like roughness. Now, if you press 1 and hold 1 and then left click, you're going to create a sort of single value vector. And you can drag this into roughness. Let's have a look. Controls how rough the material is. Roughness of 0 is smooth. So currently we have the value of 0, and on the left in the preview you can see that it's super smooth. 0 is mirror reflection, 1 is rough, completely diffuse. Save. And then, did we apply that? Is that any different? Yeah, I can kind of see the reflections of this wall. So many things in the level now. It looks odd. Like, this isn't supposed to... Oops. That was pretty cool. I can knock down the walls. So the reflection on this thing is weird. But anyway, this is something that you can do. You can play around with materials and they are quite interesting. So you can set this value to, say, 0.8. So it's rougher. Not as smooth. Yeah, almost no reflection now. But you know, you want to add reflections to things like metal, or I suppose anything that looks like a glass. Anyway, so in this tutorial we looked at just dragging and dropping textures and then using them as materials on our static mesh actors. We might play around with materials at some later point, but this should cover the basics for materials. So we're going to be moving on to different subject in the next video. Thanks for watching.